hysteria. I think it was horrible.
Yeah.
What if that was your grandchild?
I know,
And on a bike, near that
yeah,
intersection.
exactly.
That's what my daughter said. She goes, Mom.
Or you could just like sobbing.
I'm like, he doesn't know he's doing it.
Yeah.
And I can't. She goes, well, just go with that. She said, I can't. And I'm like, no, he just sits by himself all the time.
Yeah.
Went for a walk with the dog.
Is it nice out?
It is.
So anyway.
Well, you know, we have that park. You know, and that's the
Better to know than not,
Relax
Joe.
down
Better to
there.
get ready on the street.
Exactly.
And
He was
they
windy.
Because I noticed
disqualify a bunch of teachers, nothing
Yeah.
else, so they'll go through the gamut.
Which
So
is
it's
why
like
my allergies.
dementia, Alzheimer's, like the last things
Oh,
that
good.
they.
Yeah.
Because it's
Maybe
really
it is
only
a
determined
vitamin
by biopsy
I
brain.
love walking at night because you just,
So they'll figure
you
it out.
got so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
You used to really like.
So we're starting.
I'm sure he would, except
should
she
get you a
tired.
car.
I'm so tired.
Yeah.
You got anything willing to
Yeah,
go?
sometimes it takes effort to
It's
get
been a long haul.
Yeah.
But it is
Yeah.
what you think it is.
Well,
That's why they say people.
Bless his pointed head.
Oh, do they? Yeah.
They don't have
So
choice.
we have,
Yeah.
they can have people
We
come
walk
into
her
the house.
morning and night.
Lois is actually starting on this with the rest.
And she,
Oh.
she'll come at a certain time, she knows, she'll start like ramming your leg and
Yeah.
pushing on your leg.
At least I know that we're covered there. We have to have
All
somebody
that
come.
is,
And then
you don't have to worry about it.
And we have
she
the
gives
best
you 1 minute to help her
Yeah.
back down your nose.
times a year. You need to change your coverage. It's gonna be too expensive. You need to. Of course.
You should have said really more than 8,000 a month.
I'm like, no, I think
I
it's just
need
fine.
a
I
date
think we're up to
because I have to
that.
take my dad up to get him.
But you know how much it costs,
Because-
like 8,000
Yes.
or more.
Exactly. Yeah.
That doesn't
And
include
we have
irrigation.
lifetime, and it keeps
Yes.
going up every month or whatever. It goes up
But he
with
didn't have
inflation or
It'll never
whatever.
stop.
So,
That was the best deal ever.
yeah.
Until I get him to pass that test, he's gonna be just unbearable.
Yeah. No, and it's because we bought it, it's like 25 years ago probably. So, yeah, we bought it a long time, we put a lot of money into it. But
But you know, it's
when I
like.
get that money back.
Couldn't drive anymore.
I take my car and had that new
She had to depend on other people. And
Yeah.
it just
And he's never
I said, oh, and is there an extended warranty? I will take that too, thank you. Because,
in control. That's why anything that's out of his control doesn't.
oh, yes, you never pay
So
full
we're
price.
actually going to go to San
You
Andreas.
never pay full price. Good girl.
I never buy it.
Especially when you get your person, you start saying, well, then I'll have to think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yes,
You
Mrs.
can barely find a place to
Mrs.
sit.
McPhee.
They'll fix that up for you, right? There's no
Like,
price.
you want to change my mind?
That's right.
You
know, I just told me
That never fails.
We went to the
Right now
airport
it's
to go to San Diego.
Friday night.
Well, they have free sometimes. Not like
But they, I mean,
Ooh.
Surveys and.
That's a picture of it.
Yeah.
Contract.
As long as it has a picture.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, I thought.
Well, you know, San Diego, they don't have
Yeah.
to in the state, but still, there is that need more. But you know how many $1,000 for
But at least you're figuring the pictures
Right.
that you want more than
Like a
anything
lot,
else.
And knowing that last year,
Right.
that some sites have only had one or two parents.
So then
It's
I
not their job to do
and
it.
stores and everywhere, you know,
They're
so I went to the MB.
So it doesn't matter how much. Okay, how many parents there are.
Well, in the long run it does, but
Now, how did it get in
they
there?
help.
That's okay. Might never lose my wallet.
I don't know. Well, you know, I'll go places and I'll put it in my
Oh, you just put it in your
pocket,
pocket, yeah.
or, you know, I'll always think I need my ID to go over, so.
Workshops. They
How
don't
much
deliver
work
workshops.
Yeah, but you never know if something happens. It's nice for the share to spare. That was a big understanding.
Yeah.
You get a car accident,
The very
nobody will
first
look
schools
for
that have done it, so.
Oh, yeah, my daughter. So are there
What happens? How
more
would you know you are? I said, you know
teachers
who I am. He said, well, I might be here
that
too.
piece that are really
Oh my gosh, okay, I never
do
mind.
that?
Yes, there are some, there's some schools coming on board.
So the first
Then I
year
lose it,
schools
and we almost lost it.
would have my
Now
teacher
I'm
in,
doing-
but not after.
Well, there you are.
They've already started on.
So you could probably sell that one to someone. Tea your
They should have been
I could, and then the only needs is a
It
couple of
generally looks
cars.
like you can.
School, yeah, I can't afford under how much And so we started with something.
Well, there's a few of her colleagues, you know.
Right, I just,
Working out.
yeah,
I
so.
think,
If cuteness.
How are you?
I am fine. I understand that you are quite the party girl.
Oh no, her secret's out.
I was told that whenever there's need for some type of party, well, but that makes it have a party.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad. Who said that? Of that? Do you remember?
Let me think. Who was it? Well, it was one of the
Could have been Charles.
Oh, wait, Charles. It
He
was.
just stays
I know, 'cause he doesn't come.
I know.
Exactly.
Who was it? It
Oh,
was.
Before?
No, that's who I think.
Well, no, what it was.
Oh.
Yeah.
That could be.
Because we were here negotiating on Friday. So
Oh,
you guys
yes,
had
and we
lunch.
had our party.
And I had walked out to go do something, and she had walked out for some reason. And I said, whatever you got in there smells good.
Yeah, we do great potlucks. You're
Yeah.
always welcome.
Yeah.
If you are walking by or close by, just
You
come
could
on
have just
in.
swallowed.
We'd love to
I'm
have
gonna put it
you.
on my calendar.
We-
last
and
day.
that's the every
Last
quarter.
day, quarter.
And you are
There
more
There
than
must be some
welcome.
reason
So
you
there
need
was
to
gonna
come
be-
down
I'm
and
walking.
walk.
Yeah.
You because you know it is report card day.
Yeah.
So probably I need.
I'm sure you must have a question for us.
Yeah, you don't even have to have a reason.
There you
And
go.
what makes it even more fun is if we know it's your birthday. When is your birthday?
Oh, my birthday
You
is
don't have to tell me years, I just.
No, it's May 28th.
May.
The last week.
Yeah. So we celebrate, we do a little celebration. You know, it's so funny you say that because Jerry says she makes us have a party. Beverly used to say, people do things and you just make them feel like they have to. Not everybody has that quality. She says, I try to do that with people and they just look at me and walk away. But they come to the parties and they do it. It's something that's so funny.
Jerry
I like I don't give them a choice.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to.
That makes us happy. That's right. Because she says that if we don't do this, we're never gonna see each other. And I'm
Now,
like,
it's
oh,
probably
that's
true.
right. Yeah, because you guys are questions.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing
Very seldom all in the same place.
Yeah.
And it's true, and so we do need to get together, and it's good, it's good for just our, yeah. So we have, and the gals, the guys, they always, some potlucks, you kind of have like.
She was saying we did nachos or something?
Yeah,
did Mexican theme.
yeah, we try to do a theme.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, we had.
Well, let me know what your theme will be.
Yeah.
It's December. And I will.
December, it's usually soup and sandwiches, because it's cold, so we do this. And there's always a couple people that bring like nice soup.
No, there you go. So I do this at my house. Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. So I tell people, you come to my house, you have soup and pie, kick off the holiday season, and then leave everything at home, your turkey's grinding or whatever, then you go home the next morning and take care of it. Come to my house.
That's why I say.
And I do chicken noodle,
I know, I saw it
chicken
on the
corn
window.
chowder.
Oh, my favorite.
I mean,
So I will make that in
Oh,
December.
She's invited.
But I have to tell you, it is not on any, it's not on any hard. That's not how it.
Well,
We don't care what day of murder.
Because I do.
Yeah, we're talking
at least.
Yeah, well, those of us that are crack chances, that we just have a small bowl.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
right.
with that. Sometimes it's good just having a taste.
I like the small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, put that on my.
You're more than welcome.
It's a
I know, it's so unfair of us to tempt you.
I know, that was fine, we were, but, we were.
We tried not to be too loud, we moved all the tables to the
Oh,
far
no,
end,
no,
so.
no, we were deep in the throes of screaming at each other.
Oh, no, we didn't hear any of it.
Oh, wow. So we got to read that.
Oh,
Yeah. So.
Very
that's- So we're gonna,
So it was.
I'm waiting for.
Oh, yes.
And hopefully they'll approve it by tomorrow, and then send out an action. Definitely make sure I have 16 days before. Thursday, but it needs to be done.
So we have to go around the house.
I know, we did our first week of summer break.
Yeah, some, it is, they gotta do it. So, maybe now, $800.
I don't know what they cost. I don't know what a stamp costs. If somebody outside, I would not have the answer. I would guess
So
45 cents.
there was,
All the fun
They're
again.
in lots. I'm a guess.
And you know, we have talking
No, I
about
got
things.
to 45, 40 cents.
Something like that.
I don't mail bills like we used to, you know.
10 years
I
ago,
pay
you
everything
shared
online
I
except
pay
for
everything
my
online, but I've got
You have a
some
couple
members that live out of the area, so I send them.
Nice.
Yeah, so, yeah,
But
that
that's
doesn't
usually more than a
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I guess I
Oh,
have.
yeah, I just take it up to the front desk and go, whatever.
So now it's almost worth a Google.
Yeah, I know where we go.
No, I have to
Yeah.
Baby Sue, my shirt, yeah.
You,
You can come work with Ron.
I think we got farm work.
I know, right?
And I wasn't sure if that was you, because your hair was down, I think.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
say?
and make
Hard,
them.
it's hard.
I know, I know.
Sorry to be.
Mine too. I know, well, I put little powder on, so it wasn't so shiny.
I
Most of
mean,
my times are over done.
Yeah, I should, and I could
It came in handy.
wear it, so yeah. Yeah, so did you stay the whole time?
yeah. Yeah, I think I was one of the last ones to leave. I followed, I needed to, my car, it was parked behind mine, it was taking the helium tank. And luckily.
I really like to do that.
That was by it. It was at the same time, so I just kind of stuck out.
You wanna go rest?
Yeah, because I'm like, well, it's not technically over, and I said, all these people, like, I went to the corner, like, oh, where were these people doing?
Yeah, but you got out okay.
Yeah.
It was a good little turnout.
Yeah, it was, and obscure.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Well, I enjoy that, you know, you get to see the kids, and it's fun, seeing little smiles they get just for having a balloon. And then the extra smile for the community.
and I know, that's hard.
No, we don't do that.
Yes.
And I know that.
All the time. What's that?
Well, maybe I'll
I didn't get any phone calls.
Thank you.
No, that's okay, where are you at?
I'm at Nichols, but I'm special ed preschool.
Oh, yeah,
So, yeah.
okay. I've seen you before,
We're out
I'm
to
sure.
lunch.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
But Nichols, I love Nichols. Nichols is,
It's in our school.
it is in our school district. It has been in the last year. Okay. Because Gina Schwager and your coach, Gina was.
Hey there, how are you, sir?
We loved it together. This group of people.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And like I said, I'm not perfect, so. I'm on that side, yeah, but, you're the one that was right next to the playground.
Oh,
So we're in that area, we're just not in that part.
yeah. Yes. Oh, you took the place of Deb. Oh, okay. I met with Deb, and I was trying to think of the other lady, she had black hair.
They said, we're not
Spanish.
She was.
Joy.
I knew you were.
Yeah, no.
Right?
I was gonna say that. Oh, all right. It's the med. Oh, yeah, right. So we're taking, Ray said, no, that's not.
Well, that's the only way I knew.
I'd like to start the meeting, but all the board members are in the seat.
Actually, I was paying for that, yeah. So I'm going a bit.
We're gonna be talking tonight.
I'm hoping that works.
I see her on there, but I was integrated.
I just know who's holding up the show here.
She was on a different track.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October. Yeah. Guess who was thinking about grandkids' Christmas gifts today? Okay, how about, let's try October 3rd, 2017 school board meeting. Let's show that all 7 board members are present. And unfortunately, we have no student representatives because it is fall break. So would you please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag. They go the same thing. Okay. Yeah. Oops, wrong paper. All right, I'm going to report on actions taken in closed session. There's only one. It's the appointment of a high school vice principal. Ron Freitas motion, Darrell Talkin seconded, and the board approved the appointment of Nicole Vertar as the high school vice principal at Ronald E. McNair High School effective October 4th by the vote of 7 ayes and 0 noes. There's some shuffling here. Okie dokie. Yeah, that's those papers. Paperless society. Dr. Washer, superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, have some pictures to show you. This is College Wednesday at Creekside Elementary School, and the teacher of this class, I believe this is a kindergarten class, contacted UOP, told them that they celebrate College Wednesdays, but the kids do not have shirts to wear. So UOP donated shirts to every child. So there they are in their shirts.
Let me tell you, I went to UOP.
Yeah, so that is precious. Let's see what the next picture is. This is Westwood's Health Fair. They've had this for several years now. I got there really early, so there weren't a lot of people around to take their pictures, but they had the whole entire outside of the school and courtyard area filled with booths ready to be manned. And these are students from McNair High School in the Health Occupational Academy program, in one of our career tech programs, and they were there in force giving demonstrations on CPR. They actually had several booths, so they had a lot of student representatives. There they are with the teeth. We had some Lincoln Tech students there as well, but a lot of McNair students in the Health Careers program doing demonstrations for kids. Yes.
I was there, Dr. Washer, and I want to say McNair probably, I think the program now is running close to 60 students this year. And they probably had about 30 of them running at least a half dozen booths. Wow. And it was a fan favorite. So the students were there and they were doing baby CPR because students usually have little babies, brothers and sisters. They had adult CPR. They had a Heimlich test where they would wear the harness on there and be able, and you had to expel the ping pong ball out at a certain amount of force. And it was absolutely spectacular. Nurse Pam, again, an amazing job. It was standing room only, and I think she even has a picture of me in a paddy wagon. But
I don't have that one.
I'm glad you were able to go. This was absolutely spectacular. Thank you.
Thank you.
The statue of Ran on the other one.
Thank you for being there.
Yes.
This is Mayor Tubbs at Murata Middle School. He did 2 speaking engagements there, one for all the 7th graders and one for all the 8th graders. And the cafeteria was packed with middle school students, and they were extremely attentive to what he was saying. He talked for a long time. No PowerPoint or any technology, just him talking to kids about his story and giving words of encouragement. And he had them totally in the palm of his hand. They were eating it up. They were all swarming him afterwards, getting autographs and hugs and giving him t-shirts, and it was just a great celebration for Murata. So thank you to Mayor Tubbs for being there. And do we have another picture? Back to that one. And if I could draw your attention to the back of the room, we have some Got Kids wear.
Speaking of t-shirts.
Speaking of t-shirts, for only $10, you can get a Got Kids t-shirt, and with every purchase, an item of clothing will be donated to a child in need. So this is a good cause, and thank you to Steve Deedy and the Lodi Tokay Rotary Club for making donations to help us get this going, to buy the initial rounds of shirts. So hopefully you'll support that. And Casino Night is coming up shortly after break, October 21. This is a major event for Got Kids. Last month we gave out over $17,000 to classroom projects. That was just 1 month in mini grants, so we need to replenish the pot so that we can keep giving money out to teachers and school sites for their special projects. So everyone, please come to Casino Night, and I just want to acknowledge and thank CSEA, our local chapter, for being a sponsor of Casino Night. Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Great, excellent. I also got a t-shirt from one of my kids' college, and that was the most expensive t-shirt. All right, thank you, Dr. Washer, appreciate it. Okay, we have comments from the public. A 20-minute time period has been set aside for the public to address the board on items not listed on the agenda. Each speaker shall limit his or her comments to 3 minutes. You're also welcome to distribute materials to the board and or staff. Due to restrictions imposed by the California Brown Act regarding discussing topics that are not on the agenda, board members may not engage in dialogue about the issue. Are there any members of the audience who would like to address the board? None seen. Alrighty. Then we'll move right along to consent agenda A. Board members, are there any items that you would like to pull?
A1.
A1. Any others? Members of the audience, any items that you'd like pulled from the consent agenda?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Briggs.
I move to approve remaining consent agenda items.
All right, been motioned and seconded. George Neely. Yeah, he does that too. He's good. He read the instructions, I think.
It's efficiency there. God, efficiency.
See, now I'm off. I got derailed. Let's see, no students. Okay, yes, let's vote. Board members. I force myself, don't forget the students. And the rest of the consent agenda A passes. Mr. Connexted, A1.
This is just more for my information. Regarding the increase in cell tower incentive, looking at the budget, looks like it's $2,625 that go to each of the 4 high schools, correct? Yeah, okay, well, so it says. My question really is that who gets that money at the high school? Is that, back in the day, when I originally wanted to have cell towers, I was doing it for athletics. Is this now going towards, is that at principal's discretion, or who gets that money at the high school level?
So I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. I don't have the answer. So.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's more just out of curiosity for me because.
I think we used to do a percentage to the school, and but we'll have to check.
Okay. All right. Well, then.
Email will be fine to all
Sure.
board members.
Okay. I move to approve it.
Okay, motion to approve, seconded by Mr. Neely, and board vote. So, audience, do you have discussion items, questions? Okay, board vote. Motion passes 7-0. All right, consent agenda B, student discipline cases. Board members, any comments, questions? Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the discipline cases B1 through B5.
Thank you, Mr. Tolkien. Is there a second?
Second.
I heard, no,
Second.
Mr. Connexted. All right, very good. Board members vote. Motion passes 7-0. Other action items, Ms. Lampkin? Any?
This is
Yeah.
this is the item from the last.
Yes, it is. I just wanted, it's got your name on it. Do you have anything to add to it?
Nothing to add.
Okay, very good.
Gives us questions.
Board members, questions, comments? Audience?
Chairman, I move we approve item OA1-1.
Second.
Mr. Nava, and seconded by Mr. Tolkien. Any comments or questions from the public? All right, bring it back to the board to vote. Motion passes 7-0. And the second item, okay, that would be for you, Kathy. Or do you have anything to
I
add?
didn't practice.
No, it's not. We're not to the routine personnel matters for your consideration part. Do you have anything to add? Okay, very good. Board members, any questions, comments, or motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have Mr. Neely and Mr. Talpin, seconded. Audience, any questions, comments? All right, board vote. How am I doing, Joe?
Oh, you're doing
All right.
wonderful.
Keep going, don't stop.
Okay. Motion passes 7-0.
Ask questions.
Okay, here we go. Kathy, let's see if you can do it. Or do you want to do it?
I think I will defer to Mr. Freitas.
Okay.
Personal matters are submitted for your approval.
Oh,
I thought you were gonna make a motion on that.
yeah. How about motion?
Well,
Do?
actually, I will make this motion, but I do make it with a bit of sadness. I mean, one of the district's beloved employees, Maria Fong, is being asked to retire. Before the meeting, I urged the board, not in a Brown violation, in groups of 3 or less, and not in a wheel, to not approve this. But in spite of her fantastic service, they talked me out of it. So with that, I would move to approve certificated and classified personnel matters.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas, nicely said. Appreciate it. And seconded by Mr. Talkin. Board members vote. Motion passes 7-0. We have no comments. We are now communications. We have no comments from student representatives. Comments from employee group representatives. I see some. Welcome.
Thank you. Deborah Ladwood, President of CSCA chapter here in Lodi. Good evening, President Heberly, members of the board, and Superintendent Washer. I didn't prepare anything this evening, but I do want to say thank you. We did complete our negotiations last Friday. I think we feel like it was, everything went well. And so we will take it to our members week from Monday on the 16th. So we're hopeful that you'll be able to act on it at your next board meeting on the 17th. And that's about all I have to say for now, except we're all on break. And so for those of us that are still working, it's very quiet and we're able to get lots of stuff done and we like it.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah.
Good evening, President Heberly, members of the board, Dr. Washer. Yes, it is very quiet in the room and very quiet at school sites. Many teachers are off on breaks. However, we've already heard people are working on their lesson planning already. They're motivated. I'd like to address one thing that was in the personnel matters, and that we are really concerned about what happened to a member who is rehired now off the 39-month list. But we are dismayed at the process. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. I'm sure you are aware of it. We would like to have a committee or some kind of communication between the different departments and Mr. Randy Melandro regarding report cards and data input. Mr. Melandro was very responsive, and his department was also, the last 2 weeks before the quarter ended, with the challenge of uploading information from HMH, one of the publishers that we subscribe to, and the then downloading of that information into our Illuminate. There are concerns with teachers as to the timing of when those uploads and downloads happen. Mr. Melandro had said he's open to getting information from teachers to see how we can be more responsive and reflective in those changes. We did go back to 2014 and found that the timeline that Mr. Melandro and ARE followed is pretty much exactly the same. However, I think now with both math and English language arts being part of HMH, that we may need to look at how we can better meet the needs of teachers to upload, download, and get that information out to report cards in a timely manner. And just so the board's aware, most teachers in elementary start their parent conferences earlier than Tuesday, which Tuesday through Friday is marked for minimum days. But most teachers, in order to have an extended period of time with parents and meet parents' needs, start those conferences earlier. So we'd like to see if maybe we can form a committee that brings those teachers together at different grade levels to really get what would be best to meet those needs. Now granted, first quarter is an odd duck because we have parent conferences, but we do understand that there are schools that ask to do conferences periodically. So if we can maybe put that on Dr. Washer's agenda or a further agenda to form that, we would appreciate that. We look forward to coming back in a couple weeks with rejuvenated, relaxed teachers at every school site. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other employee representative groups? All right, let's see. Board members, any comments?
I do, Mr.
Yes.
President.
Mr. Conexon.
Last night I attended the CSBA presentation at the county office. Much of the information at the beginning was that there's a giant need for funding increases to improve student performance, which really wasn't much of a surprise to anybody in that room. But they try to come up with some ideas on how they're going to help us increase that. I know Mr. Neely probably can speak a little bit better to that with representatives that help us increase our political footprint, I suppose, as far as getting more funding through the state. I just thought that a couple of the numbers were kind of interesting. One is in California, we're first nationally in the GDP in California. We're the 6th largest economy in the world. We're the 41st in education funding, however. And we're the 6th largest economy in the world. We're the 47th in the nation for student to staff ratios. And we're the 6th largest economy in the world. Yeah, that's pretty dismal. But what I really was thinking about is that Lodi does extremely well with what we have to work with. And that comes down to the professionalism of our teachers, our administrators, our classified staff, considering how much money is not available to us. We do a great job. And I think I wanted that on the record, that how impressed I am with our staff. And a good example of that is Elise Forbes. If you happen to see her in the newspaper, she was a teacher in Lodi Unified for close to 40 years. She taught home ec. She was a pioneer in what they call it family life, which was another way of saying she got sex education involved in home ec, and I guess that was a big deal back in the day to get that involved, but she was able to do it. She finished her last 15 years as an AP, and she was nominated to the Lodi Hall of Fame, and I just thought that we should mention her name. Thank you.
Very good. Any other board members?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Here I'd like to add also Janine Jacinto.
Oh.
Okay, from Heritage School. She's a teacher now, and she was named to the Lodi Hall of Fame. Teaches at Heritage School, and her commitment to working with students for socio-economically disadvantaged families. She has had positive influence on them and is responsible for starting the Heritage Cleanup Club at Heritage, and started the popular youth running club. Okay, and I know Mrs. Forbes that you mentioned is an icon in the community. I mean, for many years she was a teacher and an administrator. So I think that That banquet is October 28th. It starts at 5:30 at the Boys and Girls Club here in Lodi. Also, I would like to mention a student that made the Stockton record Athlete of the Week on September 21st. Madison Wiles, she's a water polo player and was selected for that week at the Stockton record. And Madison is a leader on the team as well as in the school system. Congratulations to all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, Mr. Freitas, go ahead.
It seems that I'm the one that's always talking about the tragedies, but you know, the events of Las Vegas affected me deeply, and I'm sure they affected everybody. And it's not just for my day job, but I think it's just disturbing on a human level that this continues to happen. And maybe driving over here today, it came to mind that the world has changed, and it's changed in so many different ways. And I think we're going to have to change also in that way also, and educate more on anti-violence strategies. I know we do a lot, and we have the bullying, we have the social media, we have the harassment strategies, the teen dating, and I don't know what it looks like, but I would volunteer to be part of a committee to look for new teaching strategies so that we are on the cutting edge, providing our students with the tools going forward to be prepared in this new world and the pitfalls that we have in it. So, and I'd just like to make that suggestion.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas, for bringing that up and for volunteering for that. I want to make some quick comments on what Gary was talking about. One of the things that came out of that meeting was that we, as a state, we are behind the national average for per student funding by almost $1,400. Now, what does that mean to Lodi Unified? It means about $39 million that we would get extra and ongoing. It means that we wouldn't have to struggle to find custodians to work at our schools, and it means that we could get the intervention teachers that we so badly need. It means that we could offer new opportunities to our kids. And it's a shame that this state is that far behind. Where we used to be in the lead, and now we're way, way behind. I want to tie this into one other thing too, and that's it. I've been doing a lot of research lately on the correlation. What happens when you have lower funding in education, you're not presenting the educational opportunities to your population? All kinds of things happen. The increase in crime is there. By the way, we're spending only $11,000 a year to educate our kids here at Lodi Unified, but we're paying $75,000, I believe it is, to keep somebody in prison a year. Our priorities are messed up. If we put the money back over toward education, we could do away with a lot of problems. Crime would go down. There's a lot of things we can do. And it's CSBA is in the process of putting things together for us to be able to present this to the legislature. We've got to do something about it. You know, it's really bad. So one of the things they're doing is there's going to be a grassroots effort, and they're hiring 17 legislative consultants that are going to be working with us. They call them PACERs, and it's political activist and community involvement, or not involvement, something like that. Engagement, community engagement. And we're going to have one of our own, and they don't even have an office. They work out of their car. They're supposed to travel a lot, and we're going to spend some time grabbing a hold of that person and getting them to come here and be with us. They help you with all kinds of CSDA things. And we are in a prime location to become very politically active with our proximity to Sacramento. And we've got 3,500 employees, and I suggest that we get in there and get some of these people activated, and let's go do something. So anyway, that's all I've got, unless when you want to talk about the other there.
Oh. Anything else, board members? Okay. It's come to my attention that one of the members, board members, wanted to pull an item on the consent agenda just for discussion. We've already voted on it, but I think the discussion is probably important enough to bring it forward, and that's the request, and I think I'm going to comply with that and open it up. So that would be for Mr. Neely. Please go ahead.
I'm sorry, I got confused on this, and I did not pull it because I thought it was under other action items, so I did not pull it from the consent agenda. This is about item A8, which is the contract for the roof, and I wanted to talk about this before we have to talk about it at another time. And here is my concern on it, and I see that we have bid A and bid B. Okay, bid A is a total of about $377,000, and bid B is about $470-something thousand, about $100,000 difference in the two. Bid A is for a restoration of the roof on this building, and bid B is for what we call full, or what's being called full restoration.
Yes, sir.
Now, to my understanding, that bid B for $477,000, it couldn't go any higher than that. Is that correct?
That's correct, unless there's some type of unforeseen item that wasn't included in the bid. So, say there's a structural issue with the roof.
Okay. But that's complete replacement, all the plywood and all that kind of stuff.
Well, the bid B was complete replacement of the plywood. The roofing is reattached and then fully sealed.
Okay.
But if there's some type of structural issue with the building at the roof level, bid B wouldn't apply to that, and these contractors probably would not even do that work.
Okay. Because it would be a bigger thing than that, I understand. But we don't foresee any of that happening. But my issue is that there's a $100,000 difference in it. And we selected to go with bid A, the cheaper. I have no issues about that. Mm-hmm. My issue comes in on the roof restoration bid comparison. There are two things in there, two notes. The first one looks to be an overall note. It's got a single asterisk on it, but I don't see that single asterisk anyplace else. So that must just be a general one that says bid B in the bid submittals is proposed price for full restoration of the roof. And LUSD has selected to pursue bid A option. The contractor awarded the project cannot be held to the cost offered in bid B. And I have a little bit of problem with that, but the second one here is what I really have a problem with. There are three sentences. It says, should the extra work of replacing weak or compromised plywoods be necessary, the contractors have essentially agreed to perform the task at the stated cost. Okay, so there's no binding language there. It says essentially agreed. So we would get neat live on that word essentially, I think. The second sentence says, they cannot be held to that price should additional work above the 640 square foot be required. Now that's their out right there. That negates everything else. And this is just my way of thinking. All right? And then the last one says, they may certainly agree to do that the extra work at the stated price though. Okay, so that, yeah, they could agree, but there is nothing binding in there. So my problem is that I don't see any protection for us should they have to replace additional plywood. I mean, it could far exceed the $477,000 because of the way we've worded the contract. Now, why wouldn't we put in the contract? I mean, we could the contract, we voted to approve it. Why couldn't the contract contain language that says it will not exceed bid B, or something in that nature to protect us so that we don't have this huge overrun like we did with the last time. And by the way, so everybody knows, it is the same contractor that I was talking about last time, okay? Now, they did do Westwood, West also, right? Westwood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and they came in right on bid. Okay, they came in exactly on bid. So, and I have nothing, I happen to know this company, and this is the kind of roof that they actually specialize in. So I like the idea of them getting it, but why wouldn't we protect it? Why wouldn't we give them an out like this?
Well, there's no out in here. There's nothing to stop us from asking for that inclusion in a contract. A contract can include anything we want, so I have no
I feel
issue
much
with
better about
asking.
that.
Understood.
Okay, that's all I got.
Okay, very good. Any other questions or comments? Public? Okay, very good. All right, that takes us, superintendent comments. Do you have any additional?
Just one, Mr. Heverly, it was mentioned about the Hall of Fame dinner, just a reminder that the Dede family is also being recognized in part for their work with Got Kids.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to mention that casino night is coming up on the 21st again, just in case somebody didn't hear it?
I would love to mention that casino night is October 21st at 6:30 at Hutchins Street Square.
And where does that money go?
It goes straight to Got Kids, which funds grants that teachers submit for special projects.
Price is $30 a ticket.
Yeah.
And it's a great time.
Great
Okay.
food.
Just had to kind of, you know. All righty, we're at report items, and the first one, Ms. Katowski.
Good evening, President Hemberly, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. Sherry Flemmer and I are here to present, to discuss the coaching models and the funding sources for the coaches that we have in Lodi Unified School District. Essentially, we have two models, district level coaches that work out of the district office serving all the students in Lodi Unified School District, and we have site level coaches which are funded from their site level Title I school funds that they receive. So as you can see here, we start with our district level instructional coaches. We have provided all the positions that we have for the content language of English language arts and for the mathematics. And both of those two content areas serve K-12. Even in English language arts, sometimes we go down to our TK teachers. You can see that our English language arts positions are full except for one. And that was just recently because one of our instructional coaches passed away, Beverly Winchester. We have 3 mathematics coaches that have been vacant for at least 2 years as we have waited for teachers to fill in the ranks of the regular classroom. Across the status, you'll see the last names of the coach and their funding sources. The district, with the word district, we mean base funding, general fund. LCAP would be our supplemental funds that we receive through LCFF. And Title I, Title II, and Title III are our federal funds that come directly to the district through the state. So you see your English language arts and math coaches here. We have one science coach who's, and you can see her funding source, one avid coach, and that person's funding source. We have 2 gate coaches, and we have 7 technology coaches, of which 2 are vacant at this time. Those are our district level coaches. And then we have site instructional coaches at our Title I sites that their school site councils and through their school plan have elected to have a site coach. These are the full-time site coaches. There are some that are part-time coach, intervention teacher, but these are the schools that chose through their school site funds to have those positions. So that's as much as we have to present. So we are here to answer questions, gather information, hear your comments.
Lisa, are you gonna fill those vacant ones?
We have not filled our vacant positions for several years as we've had a shortage of teachers. We would really love to fill them now that we seem to have most of our teaching positions full, but we're asking for direction because I believe it's been the direction of the board to kind of relax, not do those positions until we have all of our teachers hired at our sites in our classrooms, regular ed classrooms.
Right now, we have 7 district hired. Is that correct?
Seven coaches?
7 coaches.
We have more than 7 coaches.
By the district funds.
The first 2 pages, it's not, there's no checks.
No checks out of the district funds, right. All of those first 2 pages are out of, there are 2, on the first chart, there are 2 that are funded from LCAP supplemental funds, or a portion of their salary, and all of the rest of them are funded out of title federal funds.
Okay.
And on the second page, let's see, the AVID and the GATE coaches are funded out of district and base funds and supplemental funds, and all the technology coaches are out of district funds.
Right. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Did you, it sounded like you want.
Oh, just Mr. Haverly, just to kind of explain where we are from here. We're bringing this forward because there was interest from the board in looking at how the coaching model is funded and a discussion that the board may want to have about that. So that's why this is here. If there are any questions or more information that the board would like, or if you're interested in having this come back in a different form, if you want to take some action on different things, then we could bring it back for you.
Okay. And I think from discussions, this provides a lot of the clarity because we were kind of asking, well, how many are there? What's their funding source? And those kinds of things. And you know, I knew when we started I'll just say the technology, they were one that, you know, eventually the thought is that they have to get that initial information out and the staff development and so on, and then that could possibly reduce as that gets taken care of. And but that was all kind of the idea, and we don't know where that's going to go. Obviously, that's why it's here tonight too. So, for me, I would say I think the vacant ones, I would say leave vacant until we can kind of see what's coming in the next budget. At this point, that's just my thoughts anyway. If we are where we are, and I'd say stay there and until we can see where we can go.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Just for information, last year, this program cost the district $3.287716 million for this program. That's for 16-17, for 33.70 teachers.
I'm not prepared to answer what the cost
Oh,
was
no,
last year.
I wasn't looking for an answer. I got this from the superintendent
Right.
last year.
But currently, what we have budgeted for this year is over almost $3 million, $2.9 million, of which I believe only about 600,000 is from district funds, maybe 600 to 800,000 is from district or LCAP funds. The rest of it all comes from title funds, Title I or Title II and Title III.
Yeah, the reason, and I'm probably one of the board members that there's no question in my mind that the teachers are doing an excellent job in fulfilling this responsibility. I just question whether this district can afford this program. And my reasoning behind it is I'm one of those that disagrees intensely with combination classes in the elementary school. I feel that the way things have gone in education in the last 30 years or 40 years, teaching these students has become more and more and more difficult. Because what went on in the 40s and the 50s and even in the 60s was much easier. We've taken on a ton of different kinds of students who do not speak English, are very diversified in their family, and need tremendous help. There's no question about it. I just would like to see our money go to ensuring that we do not have combination classes. As I was told in another meeting, that we've gone from 60 to 28 combination classes. But as far as I'm concerned, if we had one combination class, that's too many. And that's how I feel about it. It is extremely difficult for a teacher to teach 30 or 31 students, even 25 students in first through third grade. And then you give a teacher, and unfortunately, they're the new teachers, not the old and experienced teachers that generally teach a combination class. And it's extremely difficult when you're teaching a 5th and a 6th grade class, trying to do that with all the diversity that's in that classroom. So that's where, if you want to know where I would put the $3 million, that's exactly where I would put it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I have a question, Lisa. Daryl talks about these coaches. You have Title I, Title II, Title III are federally funded. That money is from the federal government, has no factor with our general budget. Is that correct?
Correct. Those are funds that we get that from our federal government that are what we would call restricted type funds, because they tell us how we should use those funds, what the purpose of those funds are for.
Okay,
so they're given to us with.
For Daryl, if he added those federal Title I, II, III on his combination total, you know, and like I said, being federally funded, I think we should keep those that are federally funded because we get money from the federal government. That's correct. And I know we have 4 vacants on the first page. You have four vacancies that are federally funded. One is Title I and the other one is Title II. You know, and if it's federally funded, it would be best to fill them.
It does create a problem with the federal funds. If we don't spend our federal funds in the manner that they should be spent, we end up returning it or asking for a waiver. So this year we have to ask for a waiver for our Title I funds because we haven't spent what we budgeted because of the freeze in our positions like this. And so if we don't spend that money in the manner that it was given to us, we can send it back and lose it completely. That has not happened, and I don't ever intend for it to happen, but yes, the short answer.
So you plan on filling those vacant spots?
If you give us permission to.
With the federal money. I'm not talking about the district, because you have here 2 district ones on the following page that are vacant. That's federal district funds.
Mr. Nava, I just want to remind the board that if we were to fill a vacant coaching position, most likely it means that we are taking a teacher out of the classroom to put in that position, which means that we then have a substitute filling that classroom. And at this point, after the year starts, my direction has been that we don't do that.
So it's counterproductive. That's me, that's what it is.
Mr. Chairman, just a point with regard to Title I, Title II, and Title III. I am not certain, and maybe Mrs. Lamkin could tell me, but I would venture to say there are combination classes in Title I, Title II, and Title III schools. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Neely.
Okay, we all know what Title I is. Title II is professional development for teachers. What's Title III?
It's for our limited English learners, for our
Okay.
English learner school
All
children.
right, now, just because those funds are used here, doesn't mean that they have to be used in these positions. So we wouldn't necessarily lose that money. They could be applied at schools and in other ways, correct?
The funds, the schools are given an allocation, and there are certain requirements for instance, Title III has to be spent specifically for English learners.
Right, okay.
And Title II stays at the district level for expenditures for professional development for teachers and staff. And Title I funds can be allocated out to school sites, which we do, but they also have requirements within that a percentage of those funds must be retained for professional development for teachers and staff.
For Title I?
Yes.
Okay, so now, on Title II, we have a whole list there, Title II in mathematics. But those 3 positions on the bottom that say vacant, even though those are Title II, can't we transfer that money to be used at the schools for professional development on site? It's still being used for professional development.
I'm not sure I'm understanding your question, Mr. Neely.
I believe what Mr. Neely is suggesting is that although the original intent was to fill the coaching positions with the Title II money, if we're not filling the positions, the Title II money could then be used for other professional development activities that are in alignment with the rules of Title II, but not a coaching position. For example, paying teachers to provide professional development after school, providing professional development at the school sites in a different manner, not through an instructional coach.
I mean, that's better than losing the money.
True.
Right.
And we do some of that, and that is true. One thing that Title II has been, over the last couple of years, the mantra has been no one drive-by workshops. They don't really like.
Right.
There's no professional development.
I totally agree. It's got to be well
So
planned.
yes, they could be used for professional
We
development.
tend to get into the position, though, that we say that we have, as I count there, 39 positions there. We tend to get into the thing that, oh, well, these are Title I, II, or III, so they really don't count against us. Well, it's all our money. Title I, and Title II, and Title III, that's all our money. We have chosen to put it here, but it could be, we could change that and put it and use it in other ways. Isn't that correct?
As long as it's research-based and effective, yes.
Right. So, I mean,
and it follows the rules.
Yeah, and I'm saying, and I understand this. This is something that's just something extra we're going to throw on it, if we do that. And I understand that. You guys are taxed here, all right? But that's a lot of money. We want to try to capitalize on that as much as we can. So if we leave on the mathematics, if we leave those 3 vacant positions attached on there, will we lose that Title II money?
I do not believe we will lose it. We have been using it to pay teachers for professional development.
Okay.
So we've been using
All right,
it.
fair enough. That's what I'm after.
It covers your question.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking for, so that we can use that money in other ways. But I think we need to remember that, like I say, Title I, II, and III monies, those are still district monies. Now, what is your differentiation here between LCAP and district? Is LCAP actually the LCFF funds that have to be used for those specific reasons? Because it's all LCAP funds, we put everything.
The district would be considered base, when you're talking on the LCAP, the district funds are base, LCAP are supplemental funds.
Got it, that makes sense to me. Okay, that's all I've got for questions.
Can I go back and talk about the mathematics coaches though? Because
Sure.
we have had 2 battles, and I want to call battles, but we've struggled in 2 content areas, mathematics and English language arts. We are showing some growth, but when we really do need to have support for teachers in the classroom, support for new teachers in the classroom at the time when they are working with classrooms. We have a ton of STIPs and PIPs and interns that, you know, we can't provide after-school support for. And so using our title funds to do that is a smart move because we can give them structure and support on not just the content, but the classroom management and control of the classroom. So when you think about reaching hundreds of teachers, because I'm not sure how many hundred we have this year that are new, so we have a lot of teachers that need a lot of support this year.
We do. And we've only got 3 math coaches to help.
That's why we would like to have 3 more math coaches.
So what I'm saying is that I totally agree with you. We've got all these new teachers that we've really got to help. And like I say, we're kind of a victim of our own success on that. You guys Dr. Washer did a great job in filling those positions and getting some people in there. Now we've got to do that other part of that job of getting them ready. So we need to make it the most effective that we can. And so we need to think that, okay, maybe there's a different way than sending 3 math coaches out there to do it, to attack. Maybe we should spread it out. We've got some really excellent math teachers out there that maybe we should use the money to have them help the other teachers. Maybe we should bring in some substitutes once in a while to take over their class while they go help the new. You know, I think we've got to think outside the box on this because it's a tough place where we're at right now. What you're showing us here, you know, we've got 7 positions and 3 are vacant. And we've got 50 sites to cover. So, that's hard.
And what I would say is, when we had our 7 positions, and I'm being cautious here, we had the services divided up in quadrants. So we had each of those quadrants having 2 coaches servicing those school sites in those quadrants. We've had to redesign the coaches, the model of coaching, because it is also, we've got vacant positions. So now I think we just have 2 teams versus 4 teams of teachers out there helping teachers. And I don't disagree with you that we need to think out of the box, but we also have to be realistic about what we're asking teachers. If we put a substitute in their classroom to go so they can help somebody else, they got to plan for that sub, they got to work on the lesson that they got double the work to do when a coach has that time to plan.
Right.
Plus, that's a piece of their work. There's a lot of other work that they do that some people would say is above and beyond, more of an administrative type of thing.
But look, there are things that we could do, all right? One of those is that when we have new teachers, instead of asking them to do their own lesson plans, is to have electronic online lesson plans that I've been asking for 7 years now. We still haven't got there yet. You know, some place where they can go and there is their lesson plan. I mean, my gosh, we have our curriculum right now is getting more digital and more digital all the time. We should be able to do that. I could see a scenario where we had fewer coaches, but those coaches used the train-the-trainer concept, where you had your math experts at site so that they're readily available when teachers need help. There's a lot of different ways that we can do this, and I'm not saying I've got the answers. I'm saying that we have to get together and figure this out. We're going to be talking about the, how are we calling it now? The CASP, the CAASPP? What are we calling that?
The CASP.
CASP, okay, we're going to be talking about that a little bit. And we have, some schools have done pretty good on that, and some schools that have kind of maintained, and we have some schools that have gone down the other way. By the way, the 5 lowest in math are the 5 that you picked out. I think that's very appropriate. So maybe we could get some help at the site. That's what I'm driving at.
Mr. Heberly, I'm sorry, I just want to remind board, and I just have to say this, if there is interest in doing something different, we ask that we know as soon as possible. Not that something can't be done later in the year, but in all fairness to the folks involved, we would appreciate knowing as soon as possible.
And I'm not saying that we have to do something different. What I'm saying is that the situation deserves a really good look. Okay, that's my point. If you come up and say, hey, George, this is the best we can do, it's the best we can do. Okay?
How much money is the three coaches for a Title II? How much would that be? The three vacant?
The budget office would tell me that they budgeted on an average about $85,000 per teacher. So, 200 and some odd $1,000 for 3 coaches. But that's an average, and usually our coaches are more veteran teachers. They're not our new teachers coming out the door, so
Getting
it could
back
be more
to the
expensive.
staff development, we don't need to have substitute teachers. We can have staff development and pay the teachers to come to that staff development at their own time, can't we? Wouldn't that be better than having substitute teachers and still help those new teachers or the ones that need help?
We can accept for interns because after work they go to their classes at their teacher prep program. So they are not available most days after school.
And plus, it's a voluntary, after hours, it's voluntary, not everybody has to come.
Right.
So, and you have new, you just have to be sympathetic. You have women that are new to the profession that have children at home and they have to get home. There's a lot of issues beyond dollars and cents here that we have to take into for being successful.
Yeah, and it's not a cut and dried
Yes.
thing, and but also the delivery system that we're talking about here shouldn't be a cut and dried thing. I think Mr. Neely is onto something where there are a lot of different things that we can do. He did mention first off is that kind of a bank of our own homegrown best practices videos that somebody could look at. For me, it's not just the money. Okay, if we fill these 3 vacancies, we're going to now produce more STIPs and PIPs and long-term subs. Okay, so it's kind of like a catch-22, which is giving us the biggest bang for your buck. And I tend to think that taking another teacher out of the classroom is not the way to go. I think that somehow figuring out an alternative delivery system is the way to go. That's my thought. And I understand there is a timeline and there is some fairness for, people, they need to know if they've got to go back into the transfer process and that kind of thing. I get that. And so I'm not sure how much is going to change, but I think that we can guess that from the last contract with LEA, there might be some different ways of delivering professional development. It's going to take a while. It's not going to happen right away. So like I said, I would rather see the vacancies, stay the vacancies, until we can actually talk this out.
Mr. Heberly, members of the board, I just want to mention, we are not asking for permission to fill the vacancies with this item. That's not the intent. This is presenting where the funding sources are.
And I think that's great because that does answer one of the questions that we had, because for me it was always twofold. It was the money and putting qualified people in the classroom. That to me is what I'm thinking.
One final thing. Of these, we have 4 math coaches here. How often could a intern teacher expect to interact one-on-one with a coach?
Well, there are 63 interns, STIPs and PIPs right now in the district, with 4 of them, not very often. We do have some higher need ones. Schools like Sutherland, where our math coach has been out there at least twice a week in the classroom with her, showing her the procedures of the math and going through all of those. Because the best angle on that is in the classroom support. So they either watch them teach, give them pointers, they give them lesson plans to do, they model lesson for them. But with 63 of them, it's very difficult for 4 coaches to get there all the time.
That's kind of
But they pick the highest need and they're there first. Some of the sites don't have the support that other sites do. For example, this one teacher at Sutherland, her other cohort teachers are also interns and STIPs. So there is no support, even from her colleagues at that site. So it depends on the situation, but they are going constantly between those 63 teachers.
Well, it's a tough one. Let us know when you guys get this figured out.
No problem.
Yes, oh yes, Bonnie,
Yeah,
please.
thank you. I'm thinking back a long, long time ago when I was a brand new teacher, and in those days, and I won't even tell you what year it was, but it's a long time ago, there was no support at all, and it was sink or swim. And so we have 63 interns, and it sounds like they are heavily dependent upon these instructional coaches. There's no more mentor teachers out there. Those were long gone. There's nothing else. Am I looking at that the right way? That the instructional coaches, that's it.
Besides, you're looking at it the right way, but there's also support at their school sites. Their
Sure.
grade level colleagues help them.
Yes.
We're not saying the coaches are the answers to all, but when they really struggle and their colleagues are working in their classroom, the principal will call a coach and say, can you come and help?
Yes.
It's not just content, it's classroom management, it's a lot of struggles. If you've never been in a classroom and you're thrown in there that first day, it's not like doing your student teaching. You have the responsibility of the world, and some of us fly, some of us do okay, and some of us need a lot of help.
Yes, and nowadays, I mean, the usual school setting, there may have been no interns in the normal type of setting, and now we have a lot of them. This is very troubling, isn't it? It's very dicey because every argument I've heard from my colleagues is sound, and I understand that absolutely. Could we go to page 4? I guess it's the one where it's the site instructional coach funding source, where these are all Title I schools.
Right.
Okay, so I want to ask very specifically, Lisa and Sherry. I'm guessing that every one of these Title I schools, that's a dedicated coach in this instance. They're there 100% of the time?
Yes.
An 8-hour day, or a normal teaching day?
Correct.
Okay. And, I mean, just guessing from their value, I believe, it's hard to sit in judgment of any of these, and I don't mean to do that, but especially at the Title I sites, I'm sure they're quite precious, if I can use that term. What's your opinion?
First, I want to clarify, yes, they are coaches, but as I look at some of the names, they're also they teach part-time. They're part-time, like at Claremont, that coach is also an intervention teacher. She teaches Read 180 part-time, and she coaches the other part-time. So when I say that, I may not be 100% accurate that they're all 100% coaching at those school sites, but most of them are doing the dual job. But yes, I do believe that they are needed at the schools. I'm not a box checker, but I would say that when you look at the school's data and you look at the needs of the schools, and if those school sites feel that they need somebody working with their teachers and an intervention teacher, if that's what they've decided and they have a good plan to do that with their title funds, it's not my job to be judgmental to say that's not a good choice. If they have the data to support that, I'm going to support that as long as over time it's productive.
And Ms. Castle, members of the board, also remind you that with this page, this is a school site council decision as well. So it is not something that we would say no unless it does not meet the requirements of Title I or fall in line with good research and data-driven decisions. So the school site council is the one that's approving these.
And there you have, that's in essence the community is approving these. Okay. And then the other one I wanted to look at really fast is the next slide up. Everybody knows that I am a fierce advocate for AVID, and we have Cindy Metler in that position, and she in fact coordinates and she is the heart of our AVID program, and she has been aggressive in expanding it, which is my wish. If I had my wish, we would be an all AVID district, for heaven's sake, which is expensive and I know probably unreasonable, but with Cindy Metler, I mean, she's in a unique position here because that is district-wide, and it's growing and it's doing very well. The schools are so happy with that program. So I guess what I'm saying is we've got to be very judicious. We have to know the whole story on each and every one of these people. We're hearing there are many varieties and they fill many roles. We've already just heard a couple minutes of that. So I do feel that we need to be extremely judicious with this. And thank you for bringing this to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Council. Any other board members? Any questions or comments from the public?
Hello again. A couple of questions, and I'm not sure if it was intentional or if it doesn't fit, but I don't see any of our autism coaches on this. Are they funded separately? Are they not considered a coach? Where's that way?
Would you like me to answer questions?
Sure.
When we looked at this, we were not considering them to be instructional coaches. They're more on the behavior specialist category. That's why they're not included in there.
Just on a side note, for fielding 2 questions today on autism coaches, they do go to classrooms to help the teachers with their instruction with autistic children in there. So I think we're leaving out a piece, and I don't know if the funding is different, if that was the piece of it, but I think they are also part of our coaching staff in our district. So I want to make sure that we address that piece. I agree with cautious as we go forward. I know that with the MOU and the establishment of the RBET that we're looking at some models that do some coaching, but we're looking at some time off when that happens. I'm going to kind of jump around kind of as you did. One, want to piggyback on Ms. Castle's comments about AVID. Just this weekend, I was speaking with Ms. Metler and talking about how many school sites have been contacting her as a Title I wanting to go further in AVID. And she is that contact person and that person that helps them organize that. And she does have a full schedule. So when we look at one, keeping a site up to date with their standards and goals of being an AVID site, and those that are not but want to start on that path, it's important that we have people like Ms. Metler who know the ins and outs of AVID, know what those, how you can become an AVID school. So it's important that we not only think about the position, but what are all of the job duties of that position? And that AVID coach, as compared to, and I'm going to flip to the last page where we have site instructional coaches. And I'm curious as to maybe getting more data on that, because as I understand it, most of those are intervention teachers. The school sites have funded those and voted on spending their dollars that way, but I believe it's more of your Read 180, System 44, and it was Math 180, I believe, intervention that they would pull out kids for different things. I don't know how much coaching going into a teacher's classroom, and maybe that's a piece that we can look at if we're giving a site support that an intern or new teacher needs in classroom management. Are those Title I teachers that are listed by site also / coaches, and how much of their day is dedicated to coaching? when we look at technology, I did have the same question about base versus supplemental, why all of our technology coaches are under the base. I'm a tech person, although I've been out of the classroom for a year. Someone went to hook up one of the Promethean boards, and I'm no longer a lead. There's no knowledge, and it's those coaches that have been effective in the rollout of, and I'm going to just say defective boxes, to the new boxes, to now the applications that you can use. And yes, you have a camp of teachers that may be technology resistant because of our experience in the past versus a new teacher who may be more familiar with using those technology pieces. So when we look at that tech coach and how many sites that they visit, and whether it's a high school versus an elementary, I know that if I had an issue with my smart board or the firmware or the hardware, I could call the help desk. But when it was coming to instruction and applying this in the classroom, those coaches, Catherine Odell was always right there with, here's a sample lesson, try this, and walk me through how to do it. She'd lead some of those lessons. So as we look at technology, math, ELA, each of those separate areas, I think it's key to understand, as I've heard from coaches, that they are, and I'm going to call it the hotline or the bat line. If they're struggling, those coaches have already reached out to many of those interns and given them their contact. So they send them an email, I'm struggling with this, I need help with that, can you come out? And our coaches are going out, helping give model lessons, helping, troubleshoot with classroom management. So they are that front line right now for those numbers. And we've got 115 new teachers this year. My number is 68 interns. That's huge. And when you're talking about Sutherland, if Lisa's numbers are right, you have 3 brand new 6th grade teachers with a math that doesn't match anyone else at your site, and you're brand new, I would do the Home Alone, oh my. You need that coach who has worked with those lessons and help walk you through that. So as we look at the funds, yes, I think we can look at some things that are, different ways of approaching it. But we have at least 100 teachers that rely heavily on those coaches to help them through this year. And we all know how challenging it was to fill those spots last year with 50 that remained open at the end of the year. I still haven't heard what number we have open this year still, but I don't think it's anywhere where we were last year. How can we retain those teachers in those positions, those 63, 68 interns? How are we going to keep them if we don't give them the help hotline, if it will, to be calling a coach and saying, this week was a disaster. Could you come in and model something? Could you come watch me teach? Could you troubleshoot what I'm doing wrong, why I'm losing them after lunch? Whatever the scenario is, those coaches do serve a great need, especially this year with all of our new teachers. So as you look at moving forward and thinking about other things, and I agree that professional development is huge. And I think as Ms. Flemmer and I had talked about ELD, we have a lot of people talking about ELD and how do I meet the needs of my ELD students. So professional development and thinking of different ways, great, but let's not leave any new teacher in the lurch of not being able to do their job. And maybe the next step is finding out all of the responsibilities of all those coaches. as to what they do, where they do it, how many, with the math, holy cow. Personally, I don't know how I could be a math coach for 1/4 of the district. That's crazy with 53 schools. So just cautiously as we look, let's investigate, let's make sure that we have all the facts before we make those hard decisions, especially when it does involve people. And as Ms. Washer pointed out, when we're talking about people, we also need to talk about how that, if you're talking about them going back to the classroom, how is that going to be rolled out? We're talking about some very dedicated teachers in this district who have worked really hard to build some programs that we have here. And I'd hate to see us lose any of them by disenfranchising them and acknowledging the job that they do for our teachers that directly impacts every student.
Michelle, before you go, this is a discussion item, so we can discuss about this in the agenda item. But I don't think anybody's talking about sending anybody back to the classroom. And that's one of the things.
I just heard a little bit about personnel.
We're talking, yeah, it's personnel, but we're not talking about, anything big, right? We're talking about some of these funding sources, and we're talking about exactly what you said. Now, and we have to be cautious because that's the way that rumors get started. The next thing you know, Facebook will be full of people saying, the board's going to be sending people back to the classroom. But we're not.
Okay, and so I wanted to make sure that as I heard Mr. Heberly, I
want to
agree.
say that I agree with you. Yes, we have 60 new interns out there. Can we better serve them some other way than just having 3 coaches? And we're saying we don't have the answer to that. And we want to look into it. So we are taking it slow. All right? This is an initial conversation that we're having there in open forum like this so that people can talk about it. We're looking for some ideas. There's some smart folks out there. We just need to get that input in here. No one's going to make a decision in a vacuum on this. That's just not going to happen. So,
good, and I just wanted to let you know my charge tonight was for every coach that's out there that is on a 2-week break. Having fun, I hope, relaxing and enjoying, and I'm here to share with you their concerns and make sure that their voice is represented because they're not sure that all board members know every detail of their job. I don't.
Right.
So, as we go forward with this model, that's why.
Maybe that would be something to start looking at there. Maybe there needs to be, who is going to look at this? Maybe there needs to be something like that. I don't know. We need to move forward on it because we just heard that we're not getting to all of the interns, okay? It can't be done with what we've got. Therefore, we've got to do something different. That's why I'm
Exactly. And what I was saying is that there are so many facets of this. There's a lot of cause and effect, okay?
Agreed.
And so what you don't want to do is try to solve one problem and create another one. So yeah, I don't envision anything in my head that's saying, okay, we're going to do this in a vacuum and too bad, that's tough. No, it's just way too intricate for anything to happen quickly. So yeah, before things get started, relax. We have a lot of talking to do to figure out what this is. Like I said, we're having a hard time getting teachers in the classroom too. But then what we don't want to do is cause more need out there by pulling them out. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So there's a balance. I don't know what it is. You're in the field. I'm looking to you guys too. So, any other board members?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Lisa and Sherry for your report, transparent, and I know you'll do the right thing, and I know there's some things that we have to fix, and you will do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the audience? Michelle, you were done? Yes? No?
Yeah, no, you asked me to say before to answer
No,
questions.
no.
So, no, that's okay. No, I get it.
Okay, if you're good, thank you so much. Anybody else? All right, ladies, thank you very much for the report item. We will move on to the assessment. Dr. Washer.
Thank you, Mr. Heberly, members of the board. This is our initial look and presentation at last spring's state test results, which is now referred to as this CAS. Randy Melandro is not here. He is on break, enjoying his vacation. So Lisa and I, where'd she go?
I thought she mumbled something about you're on your own.
Yeah. Sorry. Actually, Randy and Lisa prepared some information for you to get you started with the conversation. So I'm going to turn this over to Lisa, and we'll show you what we have put together as an initial presentation, knowing that there are many more details yet to come.
When you run, you got to be fast.
I guess I have to do that though, that's okay. But just remember, it's an initial presentation, how's that? Okay, oh, wow, that's not good. Okay, so, overall, I think we could say that we increased our percentage of students meeting or exceeding standards by 2% for English language arts. So across the district, we increased from 40 to 42% for English language arts. All of our grades, thank you, all of our grades, it helps a little bit.
That's good, yeah.
Yes. Increased meeting or exceeding standards except for grades 5 and 6, which decreased slightly in English language arts. And our grade 11 has been the savior across the board in English language arts and mathematics for meeting and exceeding standards with 55.6% at that level. So they made the greatest gains by an additional 9.5%. So that's pretty good. My opinion, sorry. I can't keep my opinion out of things anymore. So in mathematics, we did the same thing. We increased the percent of students meeting or exceeding standards by 2%. We also increased in all grade levels except for 6th grade, which dropped by less than less than 1 percentage point. We showed our highest grade, 3rd grade, growing the most, by 38.5%, and grade 11 exceeding with an additional 8% of students meeting or exceeding standards. Twenty-five of our 47 sites had an increase in the percent of students meeting or exceeding standards, or they remained the same over last year's scores. 4 sites maintained their percent of students meeting, and we had the following 3 sites grew the most, or the largest. Plaza Robles was 7% increasing, point increase. Tokay coming in at 6%, and Liberty at 11% increasing.
17 and 16.
17,
You can't see
16,
the ones.
Oh, maybe I took my glasses off? I can't. 17, 16, and 11. Thank you. It's hard to do that. I'm getting old, so I don't know if it should be on or off anymore. Sorry. Mathematics. 25 of our 47 sites increased, met or exceeded their standards over last year's. We had 3 sites that maintained the same number of students, and we had Lodi High and Tokay High with the largest increases in mathematics, with Lodi High at 14% and Tokay High at 11% in mathematics.
And you didn't include the other 2 because?
Well, those are the largest, the greatest increase. They were the largest increases across the district.
Okay.
Okay?
You're trying to keep it light.
Yeah, okay. Here's where I'd like to say we do have a moment to say that maybe we're doing something in the right direction, but I'll be cautious with that. We exceeded the San Joaquin County average in English language arts by 3%. In mathematics, we exceeded it by 4%. We were below the state average in English language arts by 6% and math by 5%. we did increase, this is a tough one, we did increase our English language arts by 2%, even though the state average went down by a half a percentage point. So the state, you could say we're kind of closing that gap. We increased, they decreased, we got closer, but we're still apart. In mathematics, we met or exceeded by 2%, and the state also increased their percentage of mathematics by half a percent. So I think we have this one, and this is to show a comparison of where we are with our neighboring districts. So we're at the top, and so you can see what percent met or exceeded standards. That would be our levels 3s and 4s in 15, 16, and 16 and 17. So Lodi Unified increased in change by 2 points in both English language arts and mathematics, which was our first slide that we shared. Lincoln started out at 48% and decreased by a percent to 47. I believe that's the only one that is higher than us in the county. They were in mathematics, they remained the same. Linden went down. Manteca, I think there's something wrong with this chart when I'm looking at it, but Manteca increased, but the numbers aren't matching up correctly. So maybe Mr. Melandro, in his rush to get this before he flew off to Florida, made a mistake there. I'm not quite sure. But Tracy didn't have any growth, and Stockton went backwards. So it's showing something positive. It's 1 year's growth.
Be careful of karma.
Yes, I know. So it's just little increments. I'm not trying to say we're growing by leaps and bounds, but we are moving in the right direction. And I think that is it. So I guess we're here, Dr. Washer and I are here for questions or comments.
Board members, any questions, comments?
Yes, only easy ones that we can answer.
Thank you.
It's all there. There.
Okay, Mr. Neely.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We're going to talk about this later on too, right?
Absolutely.
Let me ask you a question though, Dr. Washer.
Sure.
First of all, there are some fantastic results on here. You've got schools that have increased their scores by 12 points over 2 years. You've got some really super things happening here. Oakwood has gone up 10 points over the last 2 years. I was upset when I first saw that in the first one. They had 7 points. They're still not up there, but an increase of 10 points is good. You've also got schools that are extremely low and have decreased over 2 years. Those using the dashboard thought, the way that the state does it, that would put them in the red. You know, those are. So my question to you, Dr. Washer, and I don't know if you can answer today, maybe next time we look at this. If you look at our Title I, let's start with English Language Arts. If you start with that, what is the bottom, the least, the floor that you would find acceptable for a school to be at? You want a score that you say everybody's got to be above that score. What would that be? If you can't answer now, think about
30%.
30%. 30% by when?
Tomorrow.
You mean for this coming year?
Oh, you said what's an acceptable, I would say, in my mind, we wouldn't want to see anybody under 30%. That doesn't mean they're going to get there next year.
All right. But so you would be satisfied?
No, wouldn't be satisfied, but I don't like to see scores that are below 30%.
Okay, English Language Arts. Okay, so.
In any one.
Okay, so in math too, 30%?
I'm not saying that's acceptable.
No, I'm getting you now. I'm understanding you now.
Okay.
You're saying that that's where we're going to get everybody to, at least.
I would say that would, thank you. I would say that would be what we would consider a focus, needing a focus attention if they're below that.
That makes sense.
What I have been asking folks to look at is 3rd grade ELA and 6th grade math. Because to me, those are critical points. We know tons of research out there about how important it is for students to be at or above grade level in reading by the end of 3rd grade. So that is a point we need to look at. And the 6th grade math, the skills that they have leaving elementary school in math will determine their secondary placements and success in math in the secondary level, both at middle and high school. So those are 2 areas that I think we need to look more at, school by school. Where are students in 3rd grade in ELA and 6th grade in math?
I agree completely. I think, so you're referring to, you can go online and you can see the schools by grade over the last 3 years. So what you can actually do is look at them this year, take that same grade, go back one the year before, and then go back again. And look to see if that class is progressing or degressing.
Correct, and what we've also talked to principals about when they do that is to identify students who have been at their school for those years, taking into account that there's movement in and out. So the kids that stay with you, what are they doing?
All right, that's great. I'm glad to hear that we're doing that. I got to tell you, I'm really concerned about math. And I said before, you have identified those 5 schools. Those are your exact 5 schools, the ones that are all below 20, right? All right. So I think this is a great tool to start with, and I really want to see what the principals are looking at as far as their data and how they perceive their school and what they're going to do about it. That's.
And you can see that math is much lower overall than ELA.
Yeah.
English Language Arts.
Common Core math's tough.
It is.
So actually, we've got some of our Title I schools who are outperforming. They're actually outperforming some of our non-Title I schools. So there's some really good things happening there. We need to capitalize on that, find out what's working, and put that out to everybody. That's all I've got to say.
I do want to just note that over the course of 2 years, we have 30 schools who went up in both English, Language Arts, and math. And that's a celebration.
Yeah. There's things here that need to be celebrated. There's things here that we need to work on. We can't forget either one of them.
I think your summary of like 6th grade math determines the future, that kind of thing. I think those key points are, I didn't think of those. That's a great idea, because that does dictate where you're going to be most likely. Thank you for that. Yeah, board members, anything else? Audience, any questions on this report item? All right, Lisa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, board advisory committee reports. Any board members have anything for us? All right, very good. Future agenda items. Anybody want to throw something up there? All right, very good. There will not be any more closed session this evening, so meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, some people are going to cut and run, I guess.
Who's in charge?
Well, I actually. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe.
Yeah. I think it's Mo. I thought that was your problem. I think I'm the only one here.
By default.
Something about seniority. You haven't figured this out yet?
Something about vacation.
That's enough reason to go do something fun.
That's
Oh, yeah, I haven't been there in a long time. They might. Do you like coming there?
I haven't been there. We moved to Gulf 20 years ago. And I don't think I've been there once. We were living on Grove, it was like a big deal.
Yeah. Really, isn't that funny how that works? Yeah. I guess it's just not as exciting, it doesn't sound as exciting as it sounds. Good, well, I'll find something fun to do, especially on a Wednesday. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wednesday, you have to have fun. All right, you're going to look forward to seeing you.
I know, I hope so. Yes. Come on down, we're usually in here.
He was very pleased to meet with you. He did want us to do.
That's great.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Send an email to your coaches for those teachers who have been home to make sure they know what that email was.
Yes, I do.
See ya. You guys supposed to be on break?
Right.
I was at the office since 8 o'clock.
It's always a